Welcome to Football Scientific. It's an early edition today on Saturday. It's a pretty slow news day in the world of football, but there is a San Antonio Brahmas versus St. Louis Battlehawks preview I want to go over. I posted it on the UFL News Hub earlier today, and I want to go through those notes today with the Football Scientific crowd. And then also Elf has a few points that were made today about the Madrid Bravos and about the Munich Ravens. So we'll touch on that. It's a very short video. Most of the games will be played tonight. IFL has games tonight. The UFL has games tonight. The NL has games tonight. So tomorrow will probably be a lot more exciting episode with more breakdowns and game reviews. But today we're just going to go through that preview of the San Antonio Brahmas and Battlehawks preview that I wrote on UFL News Hub. And we'll talk about the Elf transactions and how it's going as that season gets closer and closer. Okay, so I am Aaron Sauter. I'm a writer for the UFL News Hub and the CFL News Hub. I cover the San Antonio Brahmas of the UFL. I cover the Hamilton Ticats of the CFL. I cover the IFL, the Indoor Football League, the NAL, National Arena League, and the ELF, the European League of Football. And on Football Scientific, I cover the NFL and its transactions as well. This is my guest host, Wolfie D. What up? Wolfie D is in the house! And we did a programming meeting earlier today. We went through that article. Like I said, we want to talk about some key talking points and then the Elf stuff. That's it. Did a short video today. Okay, so first, tonight, DC Defenders, Memphis Showboats play in the UFL. Earlier tomorrow, Houston Roughnecks and DC Defenders play. I'm expecting the Defenders. I'm expecting the Arlington Renegades to win both those games. But San Antonio travels to St. Louis the first time this year. They're going to do that twice this year. They only get 4 home games due to scheduling issues at the Alamo Dome for the Brahmas. So they got to make their first of 2 trips to the St. Louis Battlehawks. They made a couple trips last year to St. Louis. If you remember, they played 3 times. They went to St. Louis twice, once in the XFL Championship game, and then they hosted them once. They lost both regular season games to the St. Louis Battlehawks, even though they went 7-3 last year. They lost to the Battlehawks twice, which you would think is not a good setup. But then they went to the XFL Championship game for the conference, and they came out, and St. Louis really had a rough game. They came out and looked kind of rough. A.J. McCarron was coming up an injury. The defense really didn't look that good. The running game got shut down by the Brahmas, and the Brahmas did just enough to win that game. So we'll see if they can, relive that moment. That they need to. They're 0-1. Everyone else in XFL Conference is 1-0. How I look at it right now, I think DC is going to be 2-0. I think Arlington is going to be 2-0. I could be wrong, and probably for the good of the Brahmas and Brahmas fans like myself, we're hoping that they don't win, but I suspect they will. All right, so the Brahmas are coming off a game against the Arlington Renegades where they were dominated on the line of scrimmage by the Renegades offensive line and defensive line. That's got to change. For the Brahmas to win, they got to make sure they control the offensive line of scrimmage or make some innovative plays on offense. I mentioned in the preview that I wrote, last year the Brahmas were not great on offense either, and I and other experts kind of blamed their lack of offensive cohesion on it being a new offense with A.J. Smith, new players plugged in, and the quarterbacks were not that great. So Chase Jarvis and Quentin Doherty, they were functional, but they weren't awesome quarterbacks. So that was really why people were like, well, the offense just doesn't look quite right. But they worked around a bad offensive line and a poor quarterback performance with a lot of trick plays, getting the ball to John Drake Kirkland in different ways, and the running game really picked up as the season went on. I suspect the running game will pick up as the season goes on once again, but there's some ways the Brahmas can improve their offensive output. Okay, so first, you need more screen passes. We need more screen passes. People are pass rushing Kellerman pretty hard. The pass protection is a mess. It's very porous at best. So what do they need to do? Slow down that pass rush. They need to hit some screen passes. Pounding the rock, running the ball, that's the easiest answer to shut down pressure is to run the rock right at them. And if they can't stop it, then then you can just keep running the ball. But the Brahmas are not in that position. They're not that team, okay? So they need to be able to come out and run some screen passes, maybe some double passes, maybe some reverses. They need to do some interesting things to get the ball in space to John Trey Kirkland. Okay, he did not get the ball very much last week, and it showed. They're letting that ball go to the possession receiver, Jacob Harris, and Greg Ward, possession receivers. Your home run hitter is John Trey Kirkland. Okay, they need to find ways to get him the ball in space so he can make some big plays for them and put some points on the board. I suspect Kellen Mond looked really uncomfortable. He had tons of pressure in his face. I think if they can protect Kellen Mond a little bit and they can run some of these trick plays and try to keep St. Louis's defense off balance, they have a chance to show improvement. Will they win the game? I don't know. I think they're pretty far away from being a good offense in the UFL. But what they're going to want to come out and do is manage the drives. They're going to want to hit some trick plays on screen passes, pick up some first downs, help their defense out. And the defense needs to produce some turnovers and get some short fields. This is what happened last year. They fed off short fields. They put the ball in the end zone from a short field. That's what they need to do. Okay, they were not that great last year on offense, but they were able to create their own offense with good defensive plays, getting turnovers, and then punch in the end zone. Against Arlington Renegades, they had to live in their end of the field. They just lived in their end of the field. They could not flip the field. They got a few turnovers, but with a cell on their end, they could never really put themselves in a position to threaten the Arlington Renegades consistently, okay? And Renegades just kept running the ball down their throat. Now, offensively, that's the answer. You got to start making some explosive plays. You got to get Kellen Mond some heat off his back. You got to give him a chance to throw the ball and start getting into a rhythm. He has no rhythm right now in that offense, all right? And those receivers drop passes all over the place. So you got to find different ways to get him the ball other than just passing because they keep dropping passes, okay? All right, next, the offense of the St. Louis Battlehawks, man, they are at their best when they can pound the rock at you. Last week against the Houston Roughnecks, they ran, for over almost 300 yards rushing against the Roughnecks. Jacob Sailors and Jarvion Howard, if you let those guys run all over you, they will do so. And Manny Wilkins at quarterback, he's a good game manager. He makes good decisions when needed, but that looks really good. If you have a game manager quarterback, the only way that's going to work is if you stay out of bad situations, okay? Meaning you want to be in 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3. You want to avoid 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10. 3rd and 8 is bad. Now the Brahmas, if they can get them into the St. Louis Battlehawks into those positions, they can stop the run. They can put them behind the chains early. Now you put a lot of pressure on Manny Wilkins, and under pressure he tends to fold. It's been his biography in professional football is that when you put him in pressure situations, he makes mistakes and will turn the ball over. They need to do that. They got to come out and stop the run. Now their defensive line is beat up. And the defensive line, they lost a lot of players from last year on the defensive line, and they just don't look very active. And they're sitting in their base defense. You can't afford to sit in your base 3-4 defense if you're not defeating blocks. Okay? What's happening is the defensive line's getting blown off the ball. They got blown off the ball last week against the Arlington Renegades. That got into the linebackers, and now your linebacking crew, Devontae Beckett and Jordan Williams, have no chance to make any reads and get seams because they got defenders in their face. They got offensive linemen coming downhill. They got a running back popping in before they get a chance to make any read. Okay, that's a recipe for disaster for the Brahmas. They got to fix that D-line. I would do some movements. Slant to a strong side. Slant away. Get it moving a little bit. Okay, get some blitzing going on. Last year they blitzed quite a bit with Jordan Williams. They need to do that. Get him moving. Get him in a position to make some tackles for loss. If they're going to beat the St. Louis Battlehawks, they're going to have to put them behind the chains early in the drive situations. Early downs, they need to make a play in the backfield and get it to be 2nd and 15. That would be awesome. Now Manny Wilkins can come out. He's gonna poop the bed. He's gonna throw an interception. He's gonna fumble the ball. I've seen Manny Wilkins do it. You got to push him in, put him in pressure situations. Okay. So the Brahmas defense, and they got to come out there and be aggressive in early downs. And then in late downs, those defensive backs need to make some plays on the ball and get some turnovers, okay? That's going to give them a chance to win the game. Do I think they will do it against the St. Louis Battlehawks? I'm doubtful. I don't think the offense is ready to make those moves, but I hope they are. They made a change at tight end. It wasn't really a meaningful change. It's the only change they made in personnel the whole week, other than the emergency quarterback. Jarrett Guarantano is the backup quarterback, so maybe the quarterback that left was Kevin Hogan, I guess. Nothing's been reported out of that, so it's hard to say exactly what happened. But just looking at the breakdown, the flip card on the game, I saw that Jarrett Guarantano is the backup quarterback, making Mike Hohensee, the junior, the emergency quarterback. So where is Kevin Hogan? I guess he's gone. Okay, all right. So overall, I think if the San Antonio Brahmas play aggressive on defense without giving up big plays over the top, they can have a chance to come out here and knock off the St. Louis Battlehawks. Offensively, I don't think San Antonio is ready to beat a really good defense like the Battlehawks on the road. I suspect they're going to lose this game, but maybe if they can keep getting better, they'll win the next one against the Battlehawks. They'll win a couple games here in a row. If they can get to mid-season at 3-2, they're in a pretty good spot. If they start picking up steam and they're 3-2 mid-season and they come out and go 4-1, they find themselves back at 7-3. And I think that this XFL conference is going to be highly contested. I think DC Defenders are very good on defense, not so much on offense. The Arlington Renegades have a good defense and a good offense. St. Louis Battlehawks have a good defense and a good offense, but they're limited at quarterback. So I think through attrition, they're going to beat each other up. If the Brahmas can just get better and knock off a few teams and get to 3-2, and then go 4-1 in the second half, they'll go back to probably play for an XFL championship game, conference championship again. But they have to get better. They can't just sit here. Remember last year, they were winning games, but they had their offensive line just trashed by mid-season. Maybe they'll flip it a little bit. The offensive line's intact, so maybe they'll get better each week and get it going. I think they're really missing their offensive line coach who went to Colorado. They're moving the running back coach there. Sounds like a good idea. You know, he should know the pass protection in the running game, but I think he does not have the ability to coach quite like the last one did, who went on to Colorado. So, I mean, they're struggling a little bit there, but there are less injuries than last year on the O-line, so maybe that will cancel out, okay? In terms of injuries, what do we have going on with injuries? Well, Brahmas are beat up. Outside linebacker Garrett Nelson is out with an illness all week. Cornerback Grady Williams is out with a hamstring. John Lovett, who scored the lone touchdown for the Brahmas last week, is out with a hamstring. Prince Emili has an ankle issue. He's supposed to play, but he has an ankle issue. Rashard Lawrence has a groin issue. He's scheduled to start. Okay. I'm not sure if I saw Prince Emili on there. Sam linebacker for the Battlehawks, Chris Garrett, has a knee issue. Might want to attack the wide side of the field, the passing game. So they're going to be having a backup Sam linebacker most likely. And then wide receiver Hakeem Butler is not going to be available to play. He didn't make any. He got hurt last week and didn't really make any noise. That's good for the Brahmas. That's less. There's really only one good receiver for the Battlehawks, Jacour Pearson, that's available right now. I think we can shut him down. You're in good shape. So maybe double cover over him, use a free safety in your corner on top of him, allow Jordan Mosley to make some downhill plays as a strong safety. I think Darius Phillips can shut down Jacour Pearson, or at least contain him with someone playing over top of him. So that would be how I go about defending them. Realistically, I think the Brahmas are not quite ready to upset the Battlehawks at their home stadium. If they can get one out of these two on the road at the Battlehawks, I think they'll be in good shape, and I think they can get the second one. Okay, so I got right now the Battlehawks. I have them winning 24-16 over the Brahmas. I looked at the updated line before this, and it's at 8 points. It was at 7. It's at 8 now, favoring the Battlehawks. Over/under is like 38. I have it going to 44. I think it's 40, and I have it going to 42. So I would bet the over on that if I was betting. I'm not going to gamble on that. That sounds like a bad idea. Okay? Don't gamble, kids. All right? So that's the Battlehawks and Brahmas situation. And then on the European League of Football front, the L front, I saw a breakdown on Madrid Bravos. Madrid Bravos last year were a first-year team. Not really. They had a lot of veteran players on the team, but they're a first-year team as a franchise. They came in to be a rival for the Barcelona Dragons. They were such a good rival, they completely deleted the Barcelona Dragons. So last year they came in and they got to the playoffs. You know, 6 out of 16 teams make the playoffs. That's not very many. It's hard to make the playoffs in the ELF, but they made the playoffs. They played in a wild card game. They lost to the eventual champion. They ran fire. Okay, this year they're bringing in quarterback Reed Sinnett. Reed Sinnett has spent time with the San Antonio Brahmas in the XFL season 2023. He came in, he got traded to Houston Roughnecks. He was okay, but not great. He needed a place to go. Madrid Bravos has brought him in to lead their offense. Reed Sinnett is going to be leading the Madrid Bravos offense. Okay, so you have a good game manager there. He can manage the game. So if you get your O-line right, D-line right, you have a chance. Reed Sinnett has spent time in the NFL with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Miami Dolphins, Philadelphia Eagles, and the Bengals. Okay, and then in the UFL, he spent time in San Antonio Brahmas and Houston Roughnecks. They've added wide receiver Aaron Cruikshank. Boom, he's supposed to be a good route runner, supposed to be explosive. Spent time in training camp with the Chicago Bears and Pittsburgh Steelers. He went to Rutgers University. They had a receiver last year, William Patterson, that really became their top playmaker. It doesn't sound like he's coming back. He's not everyone's decision to go to Europe, especially, you know, with economic strife and political stuff going on right now. But Aaron Cruikshank's going to go there, and they expect him to fill the role that William Patterson did. He's going to have to, because that was a big playmaker for them. They are going to get a boost on defense. The defensive end, Alejandro Iceman Fernandez, considered one of the best defensive ends in Europe, was injured most of the season last year for the Bravos. But he's going to come back healthy. He says he's ready to have a big season. We'll see if he can come back healthy and do that. They have a new head coach for the Bravos, Andrew Whitinger. He had previously been the head coach of the Barcelona Dragons. So since they're gone now, boom, it makes sense he came over to the Bravos. And then he had also been offense coordinator for the Rhine Fire previously, before they went on these playoff runs. He has NFL experience with Atlanta Falcons, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He should know how to win games, especially in the ELF. You won't see as good a personnel on both sides of the ball, but if you come out, you're fundamental on the lines, offense, defensive line, and you have a game plan with your quarterback that can be managed, and you have a defensive secondary that's going to keep the game in front of them and make some plays on some passes, you have a chance to win a bunch of games in the ELF. Okay, there's not a lot of complete teams. A lot of these European players are not nearly as skilled as the American players. So you're built mainly of those players. Like the Furvar and Throners in Hungary. You know, they keep making moves, but the meat of their team are from Hungary. And I've never heard of Hungary being a world power at football. Germany literally is a power, okay? So they got all these German teams, and those guys are really good. Spain has been traditionally good, okay? France has been traditionally good. There's Musketeers. I don't know about the Nordic Storm. Denmark, Scandinavia, it's probably not a hotbed of football, although the Swedish league is pretty well known. But they brought a lot of guys from the Rhine Fire, coaches and players, quarterback, running back Glenn Tunga, and if you have Glenn Tunga, you have a good chance to win the league. All right. Munich Ravens also made a move. They've tried to strengthen their defensive line. If you remember 2 years ago, they were an expansion team. They were real bad. Last year, they were much better, made the playoffs, one of the 6 teams to make the playoffs. Mainly on the strength of their defense. They've added defensive end Cole Coleman. He had played for the Vienna Vikings. He's coming to the Ravens, so maybe he'll give them more pass rush and give them a chance to shut down some teams. They were really good at stopping the run last year. So that's the rundown for today. It's a short video. There'll be a lot more news tomorrow, I'm sure, with the IFL games going on tonight and tomorrow, and the UFL games going on tonight and tomorrow. There'll be a lot, and the NAL game, Carolina Cobras and Willie Miners tonight. There'll be a lot more, but I'll be busy. So I just want to go through this video here and talk about the Brahmas against the Battlehawks tomorrow evening. It's at 6:30 p.m. on FS1, and then the ELF report. We'll see how that's going. Okay, so hope you have a good day. Thanks for joining us for the Football Scientific episode today, and hope you have a great Saturday. Hope your weather's good. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye, Football Scientific. All right. Remember, if you like the channel, subscribe, and if you like the video, like it. Hit the like button. Also, check out the article in the UFL News Hub. I went to my preview today, but I bet there's other previews for other games and stuff, and a lot of information on UFL News Hub. Check that out. And CFL News Hub. Always a fun time. If you've never watched the CFL, you should give it a chance this year. It's very fun. I've been following CFL roughly for 30 years. So ever since I was a little kid, I was watching the CFL. It's a lot of fun. Same with the indoor football leagues. I really enjoyed the original arena football, if you remember my past videos. But the IFL really has become that. It's a fun league. It's a lot of scoring and good football and hard-hitting stuff. And they have a lot of running games, too. So it's like watching NFL football, but in a small arena, which is different. So it's a different thing. But it's pretty fun to watch. So I hope you have a good day, and join us tomorrow for our much bigger Football Scientific show. Fighting injustice.